Hi, Tony Selzer here. Welcome to the Experience Economy. I've got one of my most exciting pre-guest conversations coming right to us. Project Broadcast, taking advantage of a channel that a lot of us are really ignoring right now. 95% open rate versus email marketing at a 5 to 15% open rate. And that's if they're in our tribe. And how many small businesses are actually leveraging this channel to not only extend the value of their customers, increase the value of their customers, their current customers, but market to new ones. Hey, Jake, tell us how you came up with this idea on Project Broadcast. What was the problem you initially tried to solve?
Well, first, man, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Um, my business partner and I, Brian, have worked together literally for 23 years now. And
Yeah.
over the course of 2 decades of working together and starting
So
our own,
divorce and waiting.
you know, we've been together a really long time.
That's
And,
awesome. That's awesome.
we started our own company 12, 13 years ago, and we were a consulting company, turned into a product company. And, we were looking for kind of our next product to build, and both of our wives are actually in the network marketing and direct sales space, different companies but similar needs. And
Mm-hmm.
we found that they were both looking for a way to just communicate with customers and do prospecting, and they wanted to do it via texting kind of super personal, as you just said, super high read rate, highly engaging, low friction. There's a ton of reasons why you want to talk to customers via texting. And they looked at the products that existed in the market. Then we looked at the products that existed in the market, and we didn't think they were adequate, and they were actually quite expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we put our heads down for a year solid. Brian and I just slinging code and drinking Red Bulls, I guess, and
Mm-hmm.
launched
Well,
Project Podcast in 2017.
Well, and I'm just going to expand on the story, right? So you saw you knew who your ICP was, you knew your ideal client profile because you had already identified there's not a lot of people serving this in this space.
Correct.
You built code to solve the problems that they were telling you they had, and then you gave it to them, and then you freaking listened, right?
Yeah.
You basically responded and made that your product path. I mean, expand on that. I mean,
Well, I
I
mean,
get
a,
I get passionate about that because it's so freaking obvious.
a great friend of mine, and he's actually the chair of our board at Project Broadcast, Thomas. He always says, and I love it when he says this. He goes, "At a business our size, the strategy is the product. Like, period. Like the only the product matters, and the product doesn't work if it doesn't fulfill the customer's needs. So we are constantly talking to customers, engaging with our customers, asking what their needs are, figuring out if there's ways for us to solve those problems, alleviate pain, save them cost, in our kind of context of Project Broadcast. But it's a pretty core value that we have. We don't just build stuff to build it. That typically doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, in because you're answering these problems, and your customer is engaged and enrolled in the vision of your company because they're experiencing it through the product, they become fans that bring more customers,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that's when you look at Project Broadcast. What's so crazy to me, you and I were talking about this earlier. Project Broadcast has a 60% explicit referral rate, and what I mean by that is, out of every 10 customers that sign up for our service, 6 of them use a referral code of another customer, which is incredible. Now, that's not including the implicit referrals of maybe people that just forgot to use a referral code, or their friend told them about it, but they went and signed up and didn't use a referral code. But, we can attribute 60% of all signups because another customer was happy and told someone about Project Broadcast that wasn't a user.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's almost you're almost by referral only at that point, right? Which goes back to one of the three disciplines that we talk about with all of our clients is the product has to sell the product. And by referral means the user experience is creating another customer, right? And that is, when you get that email that says sent by my iPhone, that is the product selling the product. I mean, that goes all the way back to, what was it? Hotmail, right? Hotmail exploded in viral growth, was sold to Microsoft, 2 to 3 years later for only 2.5 to $3 billion, right? I don't even think they were doing 200K a month in revenue, but they saw the network effect and the value of their go-to-market strategy, and that's why they paid the premium. Instagram was called Bourbon. I don't know if you ever
Oh,
remember
I
this
didn't know
story.
that. No.
Yeah, Instagram was a label for, it was a label sharing site for the bourbon you were drinking that night, so you could let your
I didn't know.
friends know you were drinking a cool bourbon. And they got down to the last 100 grand, and they made a Hail Mary, and they go, let's change it to a dating app, right? And they said, share a picture of what's cool that's going on in your thing, in your world today, and it exploded,
I did
right?
not.
Because
That's
the key difference was it exploded because the product sold the product. The influencers would driving the revenue in the new user adoption, and that's why they got sold. Zuckerberg saw the fact that it was going to be greater than Facebook in 2.5 years, and said we need to buy this network effect. I think there were $15 million in revenue, right? That's where companies really got to get their head around it, especially if you're go to market tech. You have to design a product where your user is becoming part of your sales force
mhm.
and incentivized in their experience to help you go to market. Is that fair?
Yeah, totally. And not only that, but when you look at Project Broadcast as a product, right? We're a kind of cost effective model. Our
Mm-hmm.
approach is to be the most affordable and robust, right? You can't just be affordable and be crap, and you can't just, you know what I mean? Like you got to have great product and be affordable. And that's kind of that's our business strategy. Well,
Mm-hmm.
when you have, a plan that's only $6 or $18 a month, you can't just
Sure.
spend unlimited money marketing and advertising. So you really have to build a solid product so that the user themselves tells other people about the product. So, instead of marketing Project Broadcast through ads, we focus on building really great product to solve the customer's needs, because our hope is that the customer is going to tell other people. And, so far
Yeah.
it's worked out well for us.
Yeah, that's where cost innovation really comes in, right? This is the thing that, if we lower our cost of acquisition to the dynamic of 1/25th of our competition, what is our carry cost? What is our everyday carry? And then how are we amplifying that, right? And a lot of people, a lot of tech founders are not spending enough time working through those dynamics because they don't truly identify to the ICP like you guys did, the ideal client profile in the beginning. And the beauty of this whole conversation, the way it began, is that we focus on network marketing people. Well, what do network marketing people automatically have? They have a network. They spread ideas, and they're used to pushing that through their funnel. They have these conversations, so you were leveraging that immediate channel to lower your costs. If people talk about Gates all the time, the genius was not the code he built; it was the distribution model he built,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what you guys are taking to market. And that's why it's fun to have this conversation. Where do you see the future of your product, and where's the path for the next 5 years?
I would say, right now we're focused on, we've been super blessed with the audience that we've created within network marketing direct sales. It makes up a pretty large part of our user base. But over the years, we've acquired customers that are churches and schools and giant nonprofits and restaurants and gyms and you name it, right? Because texting,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
broadcast isn't specific to a particular industry. We just knew we could go win in this industry. That's where we started. We're focusing on these other industries to grow and serve those verticals as well. I think in the next 5 years, a big part of what we're trying to do is allow these networks of people, whether it's a nonprofit or a church or a school or a network marketing team, to create community outside of social media. That's a big focus we have. And also create more channels for communication. So today, right, we have texting, we have voicemail drops. Later this year, we'll have email as a part of Project Broadcast, not because we think email is like the most successful channel, but we do get a lot of requests from our existing users of like, man, I'd really just like to send all my communication through Project Broadcast because I'm already doing my prospecting and my customer follow up and sending promotions to customers, why not be able to do that via multi-channel? So multi-channel will be a big thing for us. Um, I would say, also focusing on trying to figure out in texting, which is really hard, cracking international, which is in and of itself a really complicated
Yeah, it's
ecosystem.
a whole nother game.
It's a whole, it's a
It's
whole
a
nother.
whole nother game, brother. Yeah, we have one coming from Poland into the U.S. and we've been talking to these guys and built a go to market for them 11 months ago,
Mhm.
and we've got almost 100 prospects in their CRM and walk them through, and they can't ask them for money yet. They're still working on getting everything ratified, and I'm like, man, I mean, it's a
Text,
it's a it's
Texting's
a
an interesting space, man. It's evolved a lot, even in the past 2 years, and it continues to evolve. With the
Mhm.
rollout of new kind of regulation and rules that the carriers have imposed on the industry,
Well,
which is good.
like half their team was in the Ukraine. Just think about the changes that's made just in the last 3 years on what we were able to do to produce product, right? I mean, it's crazy. So, hey, knowing that this is going out to a lot of technology founders, we've got probably 30,000 people, chasing us or following us, whether it's through LinkedIn, Facebook. I would say 60 to 70% of our social graph as either technology based,
Hmm.
entrepreneurial based, or supporting that infrastructure. What is the one thing that you would tell somebody graduating from an entrepreneurial college and they've got an idea and they want to go to market? What is the one thing you would tell somebody who's thinking about going down the path of, I'm going to go get my MBA or my master's in entrepreneurship, or I'm going to go start my company?
Oh
Like,
man, can I can
what would
I
be that conversation?
how honest can I be?
I want you to be brutally honest.
So I come from a bit of a different breed of people, like
Mm-hmm.
I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. I went to school to be a surgeon, actually,
Oh wow.
and changed to computer science and ultimately dropped out of school. So,
Yeah.
you know, my real advice is that if you really think you need the schooling, to get where you want to go, then go do it. You should totally go do it. But if you're like me and you have this burning idea and passion in your brain already, and you
Yeah.
know what you want to go do it. What's the worst that happens? You fail. Like, that's the worst that happens, is that you fail, and then you can either go back to school or do something
Yeah.
else. But I,
Yeah.
I just took the path of saying, I really know what I want to go do. I don't need a piece of paper to tell me I'm qualified to do it. I have high confidence in myself that I'm resourceful. I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
And, it's taken
Well, the
quite,
doing is the MBA, right? The doing and the failing is that MBA, right? I
yeah.
totally agree. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, I think it's like, I know some people who want the kind of academic experience to kind of give them some more
Mm-hmm.
insight, to
Mm-hmm.
feel like they have the confidence. I think in tech specifically, other industries not so much, but in tech specifically, I think it's just much more about, like, do you really want to go to work? If you want to go to work, then get your ass to work. I
Yeah.
mean, it's that simple.
Well, yes, and I would even add to that. It's like, hey, 2 years in that MBA program, what you're learning is now 7 years obsolete.
It's true.
Where what you're like, we've got a buddy that's a Bitcoin expert that we just recruited into one of our projects, and the stuff that he's scratching the surface with, and you and I talked about that bleeding edge versus cutting edge. I'm like, I'm pretty up on this stuff, and I am a light year behind you, right? And so, but the only way to be there is to be in that stream and to be drinking from that fire hose. And you're not going to get that from your university professor
No,
or even her reading list. And that's
well,
just the
you need
that's
the
just the
real
way.
world. You need the real world to slap you a few times. That's
Yes.
that's the
Yes.
fastest way to learn. At least that
Yeah.
that I've found in my career thus far, is
Amen.
Get
Put
out
your
there and
put your credit card out there to make payroll one time and figure out if that's a
I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about?
no, we opened our first restaurant, and no, we opened our third restaurant, and we were, oh God, probably 2 months behind launch. In Indy, we're I'm supposed to have 100 employees to open. 26 show up for orientation, and I was like, I mean, we could automate every mistake.
Okay, so
Uh,
here's the way I like to explain it to people too. I like playing poker. I love poker.
yeah,
And a lot of people will play poker like Texas Hold'em on a game on their phone, right?
yeah, yeah,
The way they bet when they're playing a video game versus the way they bet when it is their money on the table is completely different. And
100.
when I think about like career projection, schooling, should you go to school, should you not to go to school, to me, and again, this is just my personal experience,
Yeah,
there was nothing like putting my own chips on the table
yeah,
because
yeah.
the necessity to learn really fast, was crucial because my real dollars are on the table and are at stake. And that helped motivate me to go really push hard to be successful.
I couldn't agree more, man. It's a great way to wrap the show. I appreciate you being on. Let's get together soon, man. It's good stuff.
Awesome, brother.